Hey everybody, welcome back to our neck of the woods. So in today's video, as promised, we're going to be doing some electrical and there's a few other things that I want to show you. So stick around and find out. Today on Sunday, and we finally just got the very last panel on. So that is a super exciting and good feeling. When you're inside of the house, it's crazy how dark it gets, especially when you've got huge overcast. Even with these massive windows and massive doors, it's crazy that it's still kind of dark in there. And then we still have the porches to do. So once we put on a little mini porch right here over this back door only, and then a 32-footer over the entire front. That's gonna basically block out even more light. Now, I don't think I've talked about this, but the back porch here, the roof is only gonna go over that door, but this is all still gonna be a deck back here. So what we're gonna do so that we don't block out a lot of light is up underneath of there, I think we're just gonna do like some pergolas. So just some 2x that run out here that kind of stops some stuff from falling on the deck, but it gives you a little bit of an overhang. So as this roof right here drops in, you'll just see pergola, pergola, pergola all the way down to the end of there. And the deck will go to the edge of the house, and then it'll go about where in between the window and the door. That'll be the deck for how high that is. Then I think we're gonna do like a split level deck. So once you get out of the door and in between kind of again that door and window, the tall deck will end. You'll have a few more steps down, and then you'll have a lower deck basically below the kitchen window, and then you'll have more steps going down, which will then lead you to a sidewalk and will get you around the house. So I think that'll give it a pretty good look out here, that you'll have 2 layers of deck. You'll have a porch covering over your door. You'll have pergolas over here. And then entertainment wise, if you're gonna stay up here, probably where the grill and stuff will be. And down there, you can just hang out and mingle. Obviously, there's no fireplace over there. It would have been a little bit cooler if it had been over there, because you could sit by a lower deck, look down at a fire, or you'll just have to stay up here on the main deck and look at the fire pit over there. But we will have steps going off that way also. So there'll be 2 ways to get up to the deck. Off to the side, off to the side, and again, 2 levels. And I think that will look cool, but we'll get started that on a later time. What I want to show you right now though, again, before we get to the electric, is I just noticed kind of a flaw in my design, which I'm gonna have to figure out how to fix it. And it's gonna have to do with insulation. So hang tight real quick and I'll show you guys. Hopefully you guys can see me with it being dark in here, and the light's probably drowning the GoPro out. But the problem that we have with the insulation is where we're gonna transition from flat ceiling up to these scissor trusses. And the problem is, hopefully if I can show you real quick, is this. Let's pretend that we need to build up the R49, which is code, from the bottom of this flat roof up to about here. Well, as you see that goes only up about, let's say halfway or 1/3. This gable end here that makes this triangle right here going across, that wall technically should still be counted as roof. So how do we build out an R49 going this way as opposed to going this way? Because these gable ends, these are 2x4s, but they're turned sideways. So you only have 1.5 inches here to insulate out. So I'm not exactly sure how we're supposed to get an R49 to go horizontal like that. One thing that I had thought of is if we took like a 2x6 or a 2x10 and we put it on there this way, so basically you make a T, then we would end up having 2 bays basically, or a single bay, single bay, single bay. And then you could either spray foam in there or put foam panels and then spray foam. Because then if you built that out, it wouldn't be any different than say
the 2x8 walls that we have on the inside of the garage that we want to spray foam. But again, the problem is, first off, the distance is too far, so we can't use regular bat insulation, because if you put a 2x in the center of that and a 2x in the center of that, you're going to be somewhere around like 30 inches or something, because those aren't even 24 inches on center. They're further apart than that. So that's where we have the problem. So comment down below, what do you think we should do for insulation? Again, it's not the entire wall, because the regular bat insulation and kind of blown in cellulose that we do down in here, that's going to go up to an R49 or an R60. It's really just this corner right here, or this triangle right here on this wall going that way and that way that I'm worried about insulation, because everything up in the scissor trusses will be the same way that they are in the common trusses here. We'll go ahead and put bat insulation all the way up in there, and then we'll blow in cellulose. But again, if you're only going up 2 or 3 feet in here, that wall ends up becoming a problem.
All right, so I'm gonna get started on the electric here, and we've got these 6-inch pot lights or hang down lights, or whatever you wanna call them. These are gonna be what we install in the soffits here. And again, there's gonna be 3 of these. One is gonna go in between the end of the wall and the window. One will go in between each window, and then one again will go in between the window and the end of the garage wall up there in the soffit. So we got to go up there and measure everything out. But before we do that, if you can take a look up there, you can see that we actually got our trim board on, or more accurately, I should say, our outside fascia. So this was kind of cool what I did. So the ends, or the bottom of these 2x6s were completely flat as I installed them. But this thing being so long and thin and wobbly this way, I wasn't able to like push up on it and meet up under here. And this isn't all 100% flat, because some of these boards are dipping and weighing in between the trusses, because there's nothing to hold them up like in the middle. So I was like, how am I gonna get this board completely flat, equal with the bottom of that truss, and then also hit our little overhang here that we need for a drip edge, so everything drips down. So as I ripped cut some of these boards, we had a few of these 1/2-inch pieces left over, and I sent a brad nail in from the outside, holding that in like that, and then that gave me a 3/8 of an inch drop. So the thickness of this board, I'll remove these brad nails and I'll remove those pieces so they won't be there. But that was something to basically just staple in real quick, and then I can push up. It hit the piece on the underside, and then again, all the way down there, we've got a perfectly flat fascia, and it's a 3/8 inch drop. So now any water that hits this will run off here. It won't really go back around and try and climb up 3/8 of an inch. It'll just drop straight down. And we left the factory edge of this fascia board on the bottom, and the cut part on top. So I don't know if you guys can see it too well, but these boards actually, they're kind of in a V shape almost. So this edge right here isn't completely flat. So again, any water that hits that will go down and kind of encroach in a little bit. It'll hit that V shape, and a water droplet will form right there and fall, and it won't go back around up the V or on the back side of there where it's not painted yet. So I think that was a pretty cool idea, how to get that completely up in there straight. And then one other thing that you always have to do with pretty much any siding is we went ahead and put an aluminum flashing behind here. So now when the next panel over here comes together and we leave our expansion gap right in between these, and then we'll go ahead and caulk those later, you've got a nice piece of flashing that if any water gets behind there, it'll hit the aluminum, run on down, and then again, it's protecting whatever's behind that and it won't rot it out. So I'm gonna install one more flashing on here, exactly how I just did this one. We'll trim our ends, and then we'll go ahead and get started on these pot lights. All right, just got my first one installed. Pretty easy. I just measured from the inside edge of the window here to the outside of the sheathing and went exactly halfway. And then these things have some little notches on them, like on the front and back and on the side here, that will help you get even front and back, or when you slide this over, for example, that little notch is exactly where I drew my mark at. I went ahead and used the nails that it comes with and attached it to the 2x4 against the wall. And then I cut this 2x4 here, send some nails in this way. So now this is held up. And then I did put 4 more nails in the bottom because it looks like there's about 5 spots that you can put nails to hold these up. And then this thing is on tracks. So if we put it all the way over, maxing out from what its length is here, it puts that light about 11 inches from the wall to the outside of the fascia. So right now 13 inches is exactly even. So with it pulled over to 11 inches, we're not exactly dead center going down here, but I really don't mind that. Try not to let my OCD kick in too much, but we'll pull this over to 11 inches, and then when we cut the soffit and put the soffit up in there, it should look nice enough. It's far enough away from the house at 11 inches being dead center that it should still light everything up. But the only other way to do it would be to have turned it this way and put in 2 more 2x4s, because this thing's only 16 inches on center. So I would have had to have added another 2x4 here and another 2x4 here running this way. And I figured just adding in 1 2x4 would have been a little bit easier. But they've got some movement again, as we can slide them back and forth. But I don't know when we're gonna get to wiring them up, but we'll see. We'll install the other 2 here, and then go to the front and install all 3 of those. And then that's one thing done that we need, and then we can get to wiring up. All right, so unfortunately the GoPro froze again. So I didn't capture any of the installation of the pot lights up here. Hopefully you guys can see them all. Again, went pretty smoothly with the way that I did the 2x4s and everything. The only problem that I'm having is if you stand back here, the goal was to have a pot light in between the end wall and the window, in between the window, and then again, the window and the end garage wall over here. The problem is my OCD. So the garage wall ends right there, and then you've got the ICF wall, but the overhang on this side sticks out a lot further going that way than it does that way. Therefore, if you stand here and look closely, that pot light is not even basically with the roof. It's even with the wall. So my OCD kicks in a little bit, and it wants that light to go more that way. But Aaron saw it and approved it the way that it is now. So I guess I'm gonna leave it because they are nailed in there, and removing nails when you hammer them in is always a little difficult, and I don't feel like grinding the heads off or anything. But dang it, I wish that pot light there was actually on the slider going this way instead of front to back, because if I could slide it that way like a foot or so, again, it would fall more in even with the window and then all the way to the edge of the roof. But I guess that's something that I'm gonna have to live with, but maybe no one else will notice it. It's just me and my OCD, but what can you do? And I did get the front of the house done also, but again, I apologize. These GoPros do not last in cold weather at all. The battery will say 80%, it'll run for a minute, and then it will say the battery's 0. So it shuts off, but I've got earplugs in and I can't hear when it's dinging that it's shutting off. But again, if you look up here, this side, the same way. That light looks like it should go another foot that way. So it's more even with the edge of the roofing and in between that window. And then again, over here, it looks fine because it's more centered in the center of the wall, and the roof really doesn't have anything to do with it, because you're boxing out at the edge there. The problem is where you boxed out over here. The only way it would have made sense, I guess, over here is to box it out at the garage wall with the zip paneling, and then just had like a ladder overhang over here, kind of like what it would look like over there. But I don't think that would look great, so that's why I left it like that. But Aaron says it's okay, so we'll just go with that. So stick around. We need a day for my father-in-law to come out here, probably sometime this week or this weekend. We'll go ahead and we will get the insulation panel screwed down with some of this leftover roof sheathing, or I may have to go buy some whatever thickness we're gonna use for drywall in here. But we'll go ahead and put on our, I think they're called LB joints, that we'll cut back on here, stick that on, run a pipe up to here, install our panel here onto some plywood or some OSB there, so it kicks the panel out the same thickness as what the drywall is going to be, and then we can start figuring out how we're going to tunnel through the ICF going over that way. And instead of going all the way down there for the switches, it'll cost us a little bit more in wiring, but instead of having to cut through all of the reinforcement plastic, I think we're going to channel straight up through just foam, get up into the attic, and then run over. And then that way, wherever we put our switches, which we decided was going to be right here, we'll drop straight down in between this foam. Again, not having to cut any paneling, and we'll put our light switches right here. So again, stick around, we'll start figuring stuff out, start putting in boxes, and then we'll go from there. Hey everybody, real quick. I got 2 hours of sleep. I'm not awake yet. They just called me. The windows and doors are here. Not the front door, but the back door. They're pulling back right now. It's snowing pretty good. I'm gonna head out, try and give them a hand, but our windows and doors are here today. All right, so now that I've had a few hours of sleep, let's go over what we got here. So as you can see, we went with Jeld Wen windows, and the model we went with is the Siteline, and it's a pretty high performance window. I don't know if I've mentioned this before, but all of our windows and doors cost us $30,000, just over like $30,000 and like 20 and some change. The only thing not here is our front door. That's on back order because that's not coming from Jeld Wen. But just take a look at these things. As you guys can see, we went with an all blacked out window and even an all blacked out sliding glass door. This window is a little over 8 foot tall and almost 8 foot wide. So when you open that sliding glass door, I think you're over 40 some inches. And our front door is going to be the same way. Our front door is actually only a single door, even though you're looking at a massive hole in there. The front door, I believe, is over 8 foot tall also, and 42 or 43 inches wide. And then we've got some side lights on each side. That's why it's so big. But what we went here with is, as you can see, the grills are only in the upper 1/3. And the reason why we did that is because these windows are about 6 foot tall. They're just as tall as me, or maybe a little bit taller with the framing. So when we install these in the house, they're obviously going to be like 2 foot off the ground, and therefore none of your vision is going to be obstructed. All of this is just completely open glass, but we still wanted to give it a look. So you've got these grills, but again, only in the upper 1/3, and the garage is the exact same way, except you can see the garage is slightly smaller. Now, what kind of performance do we have? So we went with just a dual pane. There was triple out there, but we didn't want to spend the money, and we're in zone 5. Dual pane is fine up here in Ohio. And the other thing was triple glaze really starts to cut down on your light output. And if you look over here at my truck and at the RV, you can see we pretty much have like window tint. My truck has 20%, and the RV's even worse than that. So when you're driving around at nighttime, or when it's starting to get dusk out, it's really hard to start to see out. And I mean, you still want to see out your windows, even with the sun, you know, halfway going down. You don't want it to get like all black. And the triple panes that we started to look at started to add almost like a tint effect, because you've got so much glass buildup. So it was advised for us at the dealer that no one around here buys triple. Again, if you really want to look outside and you're already in the middle of the woods where you have no sunlight anyway, to go with triple is going to start to cut down on that. So we just didn't go with it. And again, it just saved us money. Every window, though, is a little bit different. So if you want to look at the performance aspects of these, you can see that we've got a, where is it? On this particular window, we've got a U factor of 0.24, and we've got a solar heat gain of 17. On these basement windows, we've got a U factor of 27, a solar heat gain of 20. I think some of these other ones might have been a little different. And we've got a 24 on here and a 17 on here. So what does that mean? Well, the U factor is basically your R value. Doesn't make sense, but the lower the U factor, the better the R value. As opposed to a wall, the higher the R value, the higher the insulation. Low 20s, not bad. Obviously, the lower you go, the more expensive it gets. But 24 is not bad. Typical windows that I've seen at the store or in a normal house, you're probably in the mid 30s. So to go down to a low 20, not bad. The solar heat gain, however, is how much light or radiation goes through your window and will like stain your carpet and stuff. So to have a low number there is good. It means only 17% basically of radiation is getting through these windows. And I did say they were all 17, didn't I? Or at least around there. Yeah, looks like they're all about 17, so that's good. But for us, that wasn't a big deal. That's not really gonna matter because we're in the middle of the woods. We've got huge overhangs. Not a lot of sunlight is gonna get through most of these windows, especially when you've got a front and back porch. So not a big deal there. And then there's the types of windows. So as you can see, these windows are basically solid one piece, but they're not. These are actually all of the windows in the house besides the basement egress windows. And if you see in the video when they were carrying in the very first 2 windows that are now buried back there, those are 6 foot by 6 foot solid pane of glass. They can't go anywhere. But these are all casement windows. The reason why we went with casement is because when you open them up, you're opening up the entire window. And a casement is basically you've got a hinge on the side, a crank at the bottom, and the window just opens like this and then can close. So the entire window can open up. And another reason we went with casement is because they are more high performance. If you've got a standard double hung window and only the bottom goes up halfway and then closes, and the top can come down and like tilt in so you can clean the outside, etc. When wind blows on those, you can have separation where the the bottom hung and the upper hung are together, and they can move a little bit, they can leak air. They're just not as great, although you can get a double hung that's extremely high performing. With a casement window, the harder the wind blows on this window, which this is the inside, but the harder the wind blows on that, the more closed the window becomes. So in bad weather, you're not getting, you know, a high-pitched whistling sound like when your the windows are getting old. It's actually just sealing the window more to the frame than anything else. So those are two huge reasons why we went with casement. I can't wait to get them installed. I have no idea when that will be. They weigh an absolute ton. We could probably do the garage first to give them a little bit of a kind of a how-to install, because we've already got our overhangs on. If water does leak, even though I've only got the ice and water shield on this side of the garage, only like one crack up, like one layer up between two panels, since I've got all of the air channels in, any water that leaks can't really get down that outside wall anymore and run down and hit those windows. There is a crack right where I'm standing, but you can see how far away from the wall I am. So when the snow melts, it's only gonna rain down right here, and water that leaks again on the next seam down will be in those air channels, and it'll run outside. So we're not gonna get water on the inside and the tops of those windows, because that would really suck to install them and to start getting ice forming and expanding and contracting. So we don't want to do that. And on the inside of the house, we still have to put mastic on the outside because of all like these cracks in the ICF. So water hits this, goes down a crack, goes over horizontally, falls down again, gets on the window, expanding and contracting. So we don't want to do that. So this won't get done until we get a warm day and we can pretty much paint the entire outside of the house. And again, perfect example of all these cracks right here that water is just gonna get in and can run down and flow, and we need to waterproof the outside of the house before I get the windows in. And unfortunately, again, I don't know when that's gonna be. So maybe in the next video, we'll go ahead and install the 4 garage door windows. Still no ETA on the front door, but we are gonna finish this video out with starting to run the electric. So I don't think it's gonna be today. It's getting a little bit late, and I'm still, again, tired from recovering from a few days of work, 3rd shift. So it's still like super early in the morning for me, and then the sun's gonna go down. But we're gonna get our boxes laser set around here so they're all the same height. I've got an idea of how all the wires are gonna run, and we'll get to that probably tomorrow. So hang tight, and we will see you back here then. All right, hopefully you guys are with me and can hear me. Just set the laser up, going around trying to see what would be an appropriate height in a garage for my outlets. Right now the laser is right about there, or right there if you can see it, and looks like it's about 19 3/4. I think that's a little high, because if I have this shelf remaining down here, which obviously isn't a lot, like right there, I can set something on there. But maybe right about here, like waist high, to plug something in. So let's go ahead and lower this down several inches. A little better. 11 3/4. Plug something in there right there. It's not terrible. I actually ended up popping these boxes back out. There was a miscommunication. These boxes have those nubs on there for the spacing reason, and I thought my father-in-law had said to space them out if they didn't have the nubs, so that obviously it would be flush with the drywall. and not be too far in or too far out. So just quickly popped them back out, took that spacer out, and just used the factory nubs on these boxes for the appropriate placement. All right, so those 4 boxes are done, and the other 2 that are going to be on this loop are going to be up here in this corner for the garage door opener and that corner of the garage door opener. So we need to run wire from the panel here, and we're probably going to have to go through the foam here, behind the foam, and drill a hole through here, and then start running it all throughout there and getting through all of these boxes. So we'll go from panel to box, box to box, box all the way up there to a box, back over to there, down and down, and that will complete one run, and we'll have 6 outlets on one breaker. Well, that sucked. New drill bit goes a lot easier, but I broke this tip off, but it's not a bad thing because now the drill bit is a little bit shorter and I can get it in here and go through these triple studs. So let's go ahead and run this first one over. We'll probably attach it to that wall, go up, then drill through, and then we'll go over. All right, I threw the box up real quick. It's not permanent. It's not sitting on any wood yet. And basically none of the straps line up to get over top of this pole. So this thing still needs to go over that way. But I'm just basically looking for knockout placement so that way I can figure out where the lines are gonna go. So because these ones are at the lowest level, we'll probably go ahead and use a knockout level like at this height. And then for the lights on the inside, we'll probably use one of these upper knockouts and go straight up, but just looking for a overall general area. So not permanent, but that'll give me an idea. That should leave enough room for the drywall to get back here. If not, you can see the sleeves move in the concrete. Once the concrete hardens, these sleeves no longer become tight fit. So like on the outside of the house, that's why you have to caulk these, tape these, do whatever you can to keep any water out because they will move back and forth. So I'll leave this one here for now, not glue it on yet. We'll go ahead and roughly measure out a piece to cut from here to here and then we should be good with that. Right, it's not 100% official. Everything's just screwed down kind of lightly, but we've got our knockout kind of protector over here on the wire. We're still gonna bury this wire into the foam and then probably pop out right here, put a tack in here, which I don't know if you guys saw me doing it, but it's one of these little wire connector things that kind of pinch it down like that. And then of course we've got them, well, could have showed you just right here, but we've got them all over the place, connected here. That way that wire is nice and flush there. We've got all the way down the boxes, each one going there. We've also got it running up through here and up through the blocking. And again, it's stapled to the wall, running all the way over, down and down. So we've got a full run there that we're complete on the all the outlets that we want to do. And now we need to figure out the lighting and do the outside soffit lights. And the soffit lights are going to run the wiring up through the soffits. We're going to punch through the green zip wall up here as we run the wire up the truss right there. That way we can punch through here, and then that wire will then continue to go back outside and light up some soffit lights that will go down the porch going that way. We'll probably only have 2 of them, so not a big run there. And then that switch will probably be either here or here on that side of the door, that you'll flip that switch on, and all of the garage lights on the soffits will go up the front, down the side of the porch this way. And then of course we'll have probably 2 more soffit lights running down this side of the porch going out towards the front. And then we'll probably have 1 more soffit light, probably somewhere right about here. And that will all be controlled on 1 switch. And then we are gonna do some front door lights. So that'll also be on a switch here. And then I think because we're gonna do scissor trusses for the porch out here, we'll probably hang down like a chandelier or something in the middle of the porch and also kind of light that up. So we'll have at least 3 switches by the front door to control that. But right now I'm gonna get to working on the wiring for the soffit lights and then the back. And then I don't think there's really anything else to do for wiring for now, besides the lights, but I don't know how many lights I'm gonna go with. I ordered some. I'm gonna kind of hang them up here, turn one on, see the beam pattern that it casts down on the garage here and how bright it is. And then I'll decide if I need 2 of them, 4 of them, 6 of them, and go from there. So I'm not gonna run any wire for the lighting today because I don't know how powerful I need. But they should be here tomorrow that I can test one out with an extension cord and just kind of hang it down. And unfortunately, we're not going to hardwire those in. They are just going to be a light that plugs in. So we'll just be using the same boxes, but they'll be up on the ceiling that you'll plug up into, and then that will be that. So hang tight. Let's run some soffit wire. We'll be right back. All right, that's one light connected. I still have to do the other side, but I ran it over just to get the wire length right. And just wanted to show you guys these lights real quick. They're super easy to do. Inside of the connector, or inside of the box, they have these quick connects. So you strip the wire back, push it in to the little holes here, right there, if you can see it. And it's got some prongs in there that are kind of like reversed, so you can't pull the wire back out. I'm assuming if you remove the plastic covering, the clear one, you can pull them back out, but super simple, just to strip back your colors, leave a little bit of wire, push it into the hole, and then you're good. And now you've got 2 other spots on each one that we can daisy chain on over. So this one, we'll get another wire going into it, and we'll go over to that one, and then the same thing, a wire will go from there and go inside of the house. But that one down there, it'll only connect one time into those quick plugs, and then we're done. I think that's gonna about wrap it up for today. So we've got this wire going through here now. I'll staple it up along there, up along the trusses. I'm gonna wait till I get the air channels in, so that way I'm not getting in the way of myself. And then somewhere, I think right about here, we'll be kicking out in between this one, in between these 2 trusses up here. And that's where that wire will go out, and we'll go to the next pot light once we get the roof on, or the porch roof. So that'll just sit there for now. We'll tie it up and put it over here. But for the rest of the garage, we've got 2 wires coming down here that need to go through the ICF, and we need to get a box over here for the switches. This one here is going up into the attic. So once the roof goes on, or the ceiling here in the garage, obviously we're not gonna be able to see up there. It's gonna be pitch black. So we've got a light going up there. This will be for, this one will be for the power, feeding the switch. And then from there, we'll go and feed all of the indoor lighting. And then we still have one more to do that I'll need to drop down and run through all of the trusses. And we're gonna punch out and put a light on the outside there on the garage, on the far side of the garage. And then I think Aaron wants to do one more, and we're gonna put it up near the peak. I don't know about that though, because if we end up doing some sort of wood truss thing on the outside of this gable end, where you've got some wood that drops down and then goes over and kind of makes like a reverse triangle, there's not really gonna be much room for light up there. So I don't know, maybe we'll put a 3rd one over here. Haven't decided, but again, I think that'll wrap up today. We'll get finished doing everything tomorrow. And again, I don't know, hopefully when that light gets here, I'll be able to judge the brightness of it, and that way I can decide where I'm gonna put boxes up there and how many of them for indoor garage lighting. So stay tuned, we'll be back at it, and we'll see you guys tomorrow morning. Hey everybody, welcome back for another day. Unfortunately, I think I'm gonna end the video here. Last night while editing, it was getting kind of long, and unfortunately, all of my lighting is delayed until Monday and Tuesday. So I'll just quickly describe it to you, and then in another video, we'll light it all up and make it look pretty. But in the garage, I went with a company called Hyperlites. They're a circle LED light, black, very short. I've got a 5,000 Kelvin coming, which is a very, very blue, but that's only for the garage. Aaron and I hate that blue and daylight type of light for like outside lighting and stuff. I like the old school style of lighting, kind of like our fence lighting, where it's more of a yellowish tone. And an LED lighting, that's around a 2700 Kelvin or K, whatever you want to call it. So The garage lights, again, are going to be 5,000, that hyper blue white, lighting everything up. And from reports that I saw on Amazon, it looks like this light is going to be from about 15 feet up in somebody's barn. He said it casted a shadow of about 30 by 30 feet, or not a shadow, but a light beam pattern. And this garage is only 28 by 37. So it's like one light would light up this entire garage. But no, I'm a car guy. I'm gonna have a lift in here. I'm gonna have toolboxes, and you drop a bolt or something on the ground. I need light. So at most, I'm probably gonna put 4 of those in here. Again, they're LED, so they don't draw hardly any power. We did buy a light bulb and stick it outside to see how that would look. And it was an LED, 150 watt, 3000 Kelvin. And Aaron thought it was still too white. So we're gonna try a 2700 now. And that bulb only had like 1900 watts being used, even though it's rated at like a 150 watt bulb. So very bright, a very low energy, but we're gonna get something that's actually made for these halo lights outside. And those are on the way, and those should be here Monday or Tuesday also. So we'll light up this outside here and the back and give you an idea how that looks. We'll just go ahead and run the electric. I can either stick the wires into an outlet, which not recommended, or I've got an actual plug that is about 1 foot long with the wires stripped. We can go ahead and twist tie all those together and then plug that into an electric cord, and it'll light up all that outside. So when those come here, we'll do those. When the garage lights come, we'll install those and get, I think I've got 1 coming from Amazon and 1 actually coming from the manufacturer for the highlights. Amazon, it looked like it was taking too long. And then I got a notification on Instagram that the highlights were on sale, and I actually can save $15 by returning the one to Amazon and just buying them all from the manufacturer direct. So why wouldn't I? So again, I don't know which one's gonna show up first, the one from Amazon or the manufacturer, but I know the outside garage lights, they'll show up on Monday or Tuesday, and we'll do all that. Now, I did make a few changes. My father-in-law saw some of the pictures that I took of the garage wiring real quick, and he said that a few things weren't gonna pass code. And I figured I had to change something because I didn't like it. And basically it was down here on the wiring. I had the wiring turning too quickly and going down in the box, and the wires were like rubbing on the box and putting tension. And I was like, that's not right, because as you're pulling the wires through, the plastic box is kind of scratching the yellow, and I'm like, that can't be right. And he's like, yeah, code says you have to put a staple basically 4 to 6 inches above the box, so that way they drop down in. And now you can see there's not really any tension putting on them, because they're just dropping down in with gravity, and they're not gonna fray the line like in here. So I had to go ahead and drill a hole up top here, going up a little bit higher, dropping that one down in, and then this one I just ran up more at an angle. So I've lost my pretty design look, trying to keep everything flat as this one starts to angle up. But that was one thing that I had to change. So I have to go do that for every single box except for this one. Did the same thing, just drilled a hole a little bit higher and then put in the staples so that they're above the box and drop down in. The other thing that he said, I had to put the staple here like I did. So this wire is secure, and now it is in the foam here, pushed back, so we can drywall over this, and we can put in a bead of spray foam to cover that up. I also got that one up in there, dropping down for the light switch. That is the power source for the light for the garage. And I use this little guy. Not exactly precise, because this knife is for cutting straight down, but I'm turning it sideways, which is about 1/2 of an inch, and just pushing it up against the foam and letting it melt down, and it worked pretty good. This thing gets extremely hot. It's 110 volt, 190 watts, And when you turn this sucker up, it gets hot. This whole thing glows orange. Don't probably need it that hot, but it melts that foam really well. It just doesn't melt the plastic stripping as you go across. You have to go vertical, not horizontal. If you go horizontal, you either have to cut them with a chainsaw, or I had my little ICF cutting knife blade do that one over there. That's why that one looks really bad, because it's so big, because I just use that hacksaw basically. But down over here, we'll go ahead and do the same thing. We'll melt down where the box will go, install those wires, but I've still got 2 to do. Again, one for the inside lights and for the outside lights. Today I'm gonna wire up the back, and then that'll be as far as I wanna go from here. But again, I think I'm gonna wrap up today here and wrap this video up. Hope you guys enjoyed a little bit of electric, whether it's accurate or not. He'll still have to come over and approve everything. And then the county will have to come over and approve everything. And he got a little bit nervous. He thought that the code book said garage outlets have to be about 3 feet off the ground. Everywhere that I looked, I couldn't actually find any IRC where it said garages have to be 18 inches off the ground. And I said that in a comment when I was installing that. Basically, they think that that's an ignition source. So if I were to spill a gas can in here, they don't want the gas to go over. And if the outlet was basically on the ground, it would spark, light a fire. So I've seen anywhere from 18 inches. I've seen some people online mention that their HOA requires 4 feet. So I guess it's gonna depend if the county comes out and says, no, our county says you've got to be 18 inches or 4 feet, and you have to change these, which it won't be too big of a problem to knock out the nails and move the box up and move the wires up even further, because these, obviously, I still need to drill a higher hole so we can drop down and use the staples. But I don't know, we'll see. So again, we'll have to wait for the county, we'll have to wait for my stepdad or father-in-law to come over and approve everything, and then we'll go from there. But again, wrapping this video up here. Hope you guys enjoyed. Please like, subscribe, comment. Check us out on Instagram on NeckofTheWoods 2020. We show a little bit more like on the type of things that we're using and tagging those manufacturers so they can get a hold of us. And who knows, maybe send us some free stuff. You never know. But we'll see you guys next time. Hope you guys take care and enjoy the rest of the day.